Welcome back to Iron Palace. I'm Ryan Milton from TeamFFLEX. Every single Tuesday I'm coming right here to tell you how to build a palace out of your gains. And this is a show dedicated towards your training, towards everything that you would want to know regarding training, period. Today we're talking about exact workouts, things you could do, exercises for NPC Wellness, alright? So this is a question I've been getting a lot. This is content people want, and I'm bringing to you today on the Iron Palace. Please subscribe. Please share it if you get anything out of it. And thank you again for watching and being here. I appreciate you all so damn much. Alright, let's kick it off. Let's get it going. So we're talking about NPC Wellness. If you don't know what wellness is, I don't know where you've been. I've done a lot of content on it. It's kind of buzzing around. It's a great new division being added in 2020. So right now, we're about mid-December. Actually, we're over the hump of mid-December. So literally, we're starting up this division coming out next year in the NPC and the IFBB. It's wellness, and it's coming. It's going to be great. It's a women's division that is sort of bridging the gap between bikini and figure. Okay, so bikini is out there. It's been out there. It's one of the most popular women's divisions, period. Lots and lots of competitors in it. Great division. Great spot for a lot of competitors. But there's also those competitors that want a different look, and that's where wellness is going to come into play. Okay, so wellness is going to be a more muscled, more lower body dominant version of current today's bikini. Or you're going to have a lot thicker glutes, legs, quads, hamstrings. Overall, the lower body development is going to the next level for the wellness division, okay? But it is not at the figure level, where we're not seeing the striation, we're not seeing that level of upper body development, we're not seeing the cuts and all that. We're going to see a similar type of physique to bikini as far as conditioning goes and upper body wise, but a heavy emphasis on the lower body, okay? So this is a great division coming out for those of you ladies that generally have maybe thicker legs overall, right? Some women are literally just built with more lower body development. They have bigger quads, bigger glutes, bigger legs overall. Or maybe that's the look you like. Maybe in the off season you're a bikini competitor and you like that look better than your stage look in current bikini. And so wellness will be a spot where you can harbor that. This is, as I've said several times, not going to be a less conditioned version, not a fatter version of current today's bikini. This is a question and a thing I've been seeing all over Instagram and stuff for months, is that women are thinking and coaches are saying that it's going to be a less conditioned version of bikini. In other words, if you couldn't do good in bikini, you're going to be able to do better in wellness because it's a fatter version. It's not true. It's going to be very competitive. It's going to be highly competitive. Dare I say, more competitive than current today's bikini, just due to the fact of the muscular requirements it's going to take on the lower body, okay? I don't want to get into too much detail with this. I've done a lot of content on it on this channel. If you go search around on my channel for wellness, you'll find tons of videos where I'm doing examples and everything else that you would want to know about it. But pretty much, we're going to talk today about some specific exercises because I have talked a bit about how you could train for wellness. People are wondering more so what specific exercises. So I'm going to tell you what I'm having some of my current wellness athletes doing in preparation for 2020 and where it's going to kind of go from there, and some good considerations as far as exercises, sets, reps, and things like that you could be utilizing. Obviously, I want you to understand, ladies, you're watching this, or you coaches out there watching this, this is a best estimate, basically, right? It's just a best result that you could get, but it is not a one-size-fits-all. It's not a blanket statement. You can't take what I'm going to say here and basically program it and have it be successful for everybody, because every single person needs customization. Every single physique needs specific exercises, and that's what I'm doing all the time when I'm making programs, when I'm designing anything, is literally I'm taking, hey, okay, here's where this athlete is, here's where this client is, where do they want to be, what do I need to build, where am I going to take them, and how am I going to do it, and that's through the exercise selection and the sets and the reps and all that, and it's the total customization that I believe all coaching should be. I'm going to give you a good starting point today, some good ideas, some good considerations as to what you could do, but please understand, it is just a starting point. It is not the end-all be-all. It's not a blanket statement, okay? And honestly, the programs I design are very highly varied. And anyways, like, you're going to see a lot of exercise, a lot of variation from week to week, from month to month, all that. So it's important to note that. And then without further ado, let's talk a little bit about that wellness training. Alright, so with NPC Wellness just on the horizon, a lot of women are wondering, hey, how do we train for this thing? You know, I'm a bikini competitor and I want to get to wellness. What do I need to do? Or maybe I've never competed but I want to do wellness. What do I need to do? I'll tell you straight up, the first thing that makes it the most different is that lower body development, okay? So the lower body glute development, quad development, hamstring development, all to the next level, okay? You'll see on my other videos, I've done some comparisons. I'm going to do some more actually coming up, but you know, it is definitely not like current today's bikini. It's also not like figure, but the development is heavily more so than current bikini, okay? And that's where it's most comparable, honestly, as a division is closer to bikini than any other ones. And so with that, you got to understand that you got to build the lower body. You're going to have to build the quads a lot. You're going to have to build the glutes a lot. If you've been competing in bikini, you're definitely going to have to do it. You should not be able to do well in both of these categories, in other words, okay? You should not be able to jump from figure to wellness in, you know, compete in both throughout the year and do good. And same for bikini. You shouldn't be able to compete in bikini and do good in wellness. It will go contradictory if that's going to happen. You're going to have to commit to one division or the other to attain the right look because they're all different looks and you can't hop around. This is something people have been thinking. It's not going to be done. So if you're a bikini competitor and you think you're going to be able to do wellness without changing your program, you're wrong. If you're a figure competitor and you think you're going to be able to do wellness without changing your program, you're wrong. You're going to have to change your programming, your weight training overall to attain that look, just as you would with literally any of these divisions. It's super important that you understand that, and realistically, that's the only way you're going to be able to be competitive and go far in this division, because it is going to be very competitive. I know for a fact that I'm coaching a lot of women for this, and a lot of them are getting really great results. Very excited to be doing it, and so with that, you know, that's going around the world. That's not just with me. Other coaches are obviously preparing people, and it's going to be a very competitive division. A lot of women are very excited, so it's going to be awesome in 2020. Regardless, that's what you got to understand. The lower body development, absolutely to the next level here. So you're going to have to pack on some serious mass in the glutes, some serious mass in the legs, and some serious mass in the hamstring to get that full leg look that you need to compete in this division, okay? So what kind of stuff can you do to do that? Well, in reality, you need to have a great training split built out for you in the first place, okay? So you can't actually just go train glutes and quads like every day and expect to get a good result. That's not how muscles are built. You got to have a great, you know, setup as far as how you're going to let each part of your training program work for you. And what I mean by this is basically, you know, when we go to the gym, we're not building muscle, we're breaking it down. So we're hitting the muscle, we're taxing the muscle, we're training it hard, and then the goal is to get out of the gym and recover, because that's where the muscle is built. That's where the muscle fibers actually start overdeveloping and, you know, building, and the strength comes up and everything is starting to happen, is during that phase where you're actually not in the gym, where you're sleeping and you're focusing on your nutrition and, you know, you're otherwise recovering. So recovery is huge. So how do you get the best benefit? How do you build the most muscle quickly, right? Is going to be training at a very high intensity while you're in the gym, and then recovering at an even better intensity, okay? And everybody who has ever built great amounts of muscle that you can think of, you know, whether it's bodybuilders, whether it's your favorite, you know, bikini pros, whatever, they do this well. They train, right? They train hard. They know how to target each muscle group, and they know how to train it to its max capacity, and then they're not wasting time in the gym doing countless other exercises, sets, reps. They're not trying to train their glutes every day. You know, they're not trying to train anything every day, because they understand the benefit of training it hard and getting out and recovering. And that's how you're going to grow. That's how you're going to get the shape. If you train every day, you're just basically never going to allow your body to actually recover. And if you never let your body recover, you can for sure believe that it's never going to be built and developed and look the way you want it to look. And that's just what ends up happening. That's just part of, you know, the way that the body works. And this is something you can't cheat. This is something you can't shortcut. You got to understand that you need to have a training split that's built and designed to do this, okay? So I've talked a little bit about the split before, but it would be, you know, in my sense, for the most part, what I've been doing with the wellness competitors that I know are going to do very well next year, it's going to be something like an upper-lower, break, upper-lower, and, you know, maybe an accessory day, something where we're looking at specific progress pictures and trying to target additional areas. But I'm not having them train twice a day, 6 days a week, 7 days a week, you know, like some people would think you need to do for this. What I am having them do is a very heavy emphasis on what they actually need specific to their physique. And so that's where that whole customization, everything comes into play that I was talking about earlier, that you really got to take into consideration as you watch this video. This is not something you can shortcut, okay? This is not something you can just take and run with it and it's going to get you where you want to be. It's got to be custom for you. With that being said, what do the actual exercises look like? What am I actually giving these people that are going to compete in wellness? Well, let me tell you. specific exercises, we know now it's got to focus emphasis on the lower body, okay? And that's realistically what we're going to talk about in this video, is some lower body exercises you can do, because that's basically where you need to focus your most energy anyway if you want to compete in this division. It's not going to be something that you need to focus heavily on the upper body. You're not looking for big striated shoulder caps or anything like that. Realistically, what we're looking at for most of you women out there is dramatically increasing your lower body development, all right? So that's what we're looking to do. How do you do it? Okay, so I will suggest, what I'm going to suggest, keep in mind, it's got to be custom, it's got to be specifically built for you if you want the best results. If you need help with that, you can go to TeamFFLEX.com, by the way, and subscribe to our free trial. I'll show you how to do it. We also train wellness competitors over there. We got programs, the best coaching packages on earth, I guarantee you. You can go check that out. That's TeamFFLEX.com if you're serious about training for wellness. Regardless, let me tell you a little bit here. Here's how I would suggest you do it. Here's what I'm having the people do. Here's what I'm having those future wellness pros do right now. Basically, what I would suggest is you follow a format for your training day that goes compound movements in the beginning, okay, into isolation exercises at the end. So this is one training session where you're going to focus on compound movements and you're going to focus on isolation exercises, okay? I've done different content talking about what that means, but for the sense of this video, compound movements are movements that are big, heavy movements where we utilize more than one muscle group, okay? So think of things like your squats, your deadlifts, stuff like that, where we're using multiple muscle groups to complete a movement. Isolation exercises speak for themselves. They isolate a movement, okay? And so those are things where we're focusing on one specific muscle, really not trying to involve any other ones in the exercise if possible. And the combination of doing these two things correctly, having compound set and isolation set, will be the difference in if you can attain this physique or not and how fast you can do it, okay? So you need to know the compound movements you need to get, and you need to know the isolation ones you need to get, okay? And if you can go in and you can train them with the right sets, the right reps, at the right intensity, you will get great results very, very quickly, okay? So what do some of these movements look like? Compounds. For a wellness competitor, first things first, one thing you can't cheat, one thing you're gonna have to have are hip thrusts, okay? We're talking about barbell hip thrusts, generally off a bench, okay? So it's where you women would put your back on a bench and you got the bar on your hips and you're gonna drop down and you're gonna extend up. And basically this exercise is full glute targeting, okay? You're really targeting a lot of the glute, a little bit of the hamstring, but mainly this is this is the best compound you can do to isolate the glutes. Women always think it's squats and things like that. I know a lot of coaches are pushing that bro science. Squats are not the best movement to target the glutes. They're gonna target your legs a lot more than your glutes. If you really wanna isolate the glutes and build the development you need to compete in wellness, then it's going to require getting very strong with hip thrusts, being able to do a good form and proper tempo, and probably a lot of things like bands and accessory things like that that are going to help you and get additional muscle engagement. Because the glute level in wellness is not like any of these other divisions we've seen. It's literally going to be at a whole different level. It's not like bikini, it's not even like figure. This glute development is going to be a whole new thing in itself. You're going to have to build some serious glutes to compete in wellness. So with that, you need to be taking out all stops, all hacks, using things like bands, TeamFFLEX booty band, and other things like that that are going to get you in the right spot. You know what I mean? So you gotta really challenge these muscles, train these muscles, bring new intensity protocols to them, keep hitting them hard, keep them guessing, keep them recovering, keep them building, because in reality, that's how you're going to get the best glute development. One exercise that's great for that is hip thrust. You can't beat it. It's going to isolate it, and you need to be proficient at it. I would suggest doing things where you're doing 5, maybe 6 sets of this, where you're focusing on different rep range, maybe a 12 rep, a 10 rep, an 8, a 6. Take notes on this if you're watching, and you're also focusing on tempos of movement, okay? So the tempo of the movement is very important. It's how you get muscular tension. It's how you actually train a muscle and make it grow. It's how you realistically get specific muscles to actually adapt, is by putting them under tension, right? We do that through time. We do that through weight. If you do this with time and with weight, you're going to get the best results quickly. So I'd suggest some tempos, maybe a 4-1 tempo, a 3-2 tempo, a 3-3 tempo. If you want help programming this, go to TeamFFLEX.com. I'll show you how to do it. Subscribe to the mailing list. We'll get you in the trial. But basically, doing tempos, doing different rep ranges, and all that. And once you fully train that exercise, that's going to be a great compound movement for you that you would want to have. Okay. Some other great considerations would be things like deadlifts. So we're talking about doing sumo deadlifts, where now we're going to work the glutes, obviously, but we're also going to work the hamstring a lot. We're going to work even into the quads if you're doing a sumo deadlift. That's a good consideration. For deadlifts, wellness, you got to keep the reps lower. You don't want to do a ton of high rep stuff. Again, tempos are huge here. Great way to bring that in. You might do a 3-1, a 4-1. Tempos are all variable for each physique, each person. That's why I suggest, getting somebody set this up for you. But basically, deadlifts, conventional deadlifts, a little bit less. You don't need as much conventional deadlift because that's going to target more the lower back. For a lot of people, the sumo deadlift is going to be a better one for wellness training because of the glute development involved, and again, the fact that we need to build the legs. So this is a good compound that targets all the muscles in the leg. You're going to get the quads, you're going to get the hamstrings, you're going to get the the glutes firing. But overall, if you do a sumo deadlift correctly, it's very posterior chain dominant, which is also what the wellness division is going to be. So if you get proficient at doing these deadlifts, and you're working these rep ranges, you're working in the 6s to the 8s and maybe down in the 5s even with 3-4 sets, something like that, 5 sets maybe, depends on who you are, then you're going to get good results. You're going to start building some good development there. Good mornings, another good one, okay? This is really good for that glute ham tie. That's going to be important in this division. A lot of women that are going to come in here are going to have this because of the glutes that are going to be so developed. This is something that a lot of competitors probably aren't thinking about. Ham tie is not as important in bikini. I'm going to say it's going to be more important in wellness. From what I know so far about the division, it's going to be something that's more important to have because of the glute development, because that's really what brings a ham tie in the first place, is well-developed glutes that pushes through the skin in the the glute ham tie area, and that's going to produce that ham tie that people are looking for. So in wellness, we're probably going to see a lot more of that from competitors in general, and by standard, it's going to become something that is part of the practice of judging, basically. So with that, you got to have that. And so hamstring, you're going to have to target these a lot too. So while you might target the girth of the glutes a lot with some compound movements, you need to also target the hamstring and the ham tie, if you will, with different exercises as well. So things like good mornings. You could do these on a Smith machine. You could do these with a free barbell. You could do these with a bar, like a dumbbell on your back even. There's a lot of ways to do good mornings. It's something you definitely want to have. So this is basically your standing deadlift that's loaded up top, right? You put the bar on your back and you're doing it standing, legs softly bent or totally straight, where you can hinge back. It's just like a hinge type movement, but it targets a lot more of the high hamstring. Due to the fact the bar's up on top of you instead of down low, you're getting a lot more high hamstring involvement, and that's going to really help you bring through that glute ham tie when you're lean enough to show it, obviously. There's no specific exercises that can actually train a glute ham tie. We can train the glutes and the hamstrings enough that when you get lean enough, it will show as a glute ham tie, but this is a good exercise, great consideration for what you need to be doing. What are some more movements? More exercises that are going to be great for wellness. The lower body is really what we're talking about. And, we're hitting the hamstrings, we're hitting the glutes a bit with some of these compounds. Another great compound you would want to have in your program, for the most part, what I'm giving the people that are training for wellness, that are going to be them future wellness pros, we're looking at doing things like Glute Ham Race, okay? So that's a great exercise, something you definitely want to have in your program. I suggest this for most competitors that are women doing any of these divisions realistically, because it's just such a great exercise for all that. So with that, we're looking at the Glute Ham Race. If you don't know what that is, some gyms have an actual GHD where you put your feet in and then you lower your body down and then you're extending up, okay? So it's basically full targeting of the glute, full targeting of the hamstring. It's a great pulling exercise from a different movement, because realistically it's starting at your feet in a horizontal sense, as opposed to what you're normally doing with a deadlift or a squat or something like that, where your feet are planted on the floor. This time they're actually horizontal, okay? So if you don't know what this exercise is, I actually wrote an article on it at TeamFFLEX.com, TeamFFLEX.com. You can read that. I also told you how to do it without a GHD, which is that machine, because a lot of gyms unfortunately don't have it, but you can do something similar with a lat pull down machine or some benches in certain gyms. So there's an article over there on my blog. Go read that if you need help with that or setting that up, or just subscribe to my free trial at TeamFFLEX.com, and I'll program it in so you can see exactly how to do it. It's a free trial. There's no reason not to. But basically, you want to have that exercise absolutely in there. Again, this is going to help with the glute development, a lot of the hamstring development, and that glute ham tie that we need to see in this division coming through is going to be hit hard, and it's going to be a great exercise for it, okay? So we kind of focus on some of these compounds, for the posterior chain, talking about the glute, the hamstring. You're noticing how I'm talking about doing literally hip thrusts and deadlifts and some other hinge movements, good mornings and GHD, but we're not doing a lot of weird kind of, other exercises that you might see people doing on Instagram with the little cables and walking around. That's not important for this division. If you're trying to build muscle, you got to train these compound movements that's going to allow you to get proficient in weight and allow you to really start packing on this muscle, this shape. So you got to train these movements that are heavy, they're going to work, and they're going to get you where you want to be. So a lot of the weird accessory stuff you see on the internet, these kind of, flash exercises is really what I call them, because they're mainly just for flair on Instagram. They don't actually do anything. They just look cool and people get excited about doing dumb shit. But the point is, if you want the glute development, you want the hamstring development, stick to the damn basics, okay? You know how to program, you gotta know how to get the tempos in, you gotta know how to do it right way, and then you gotta know how to actually see if it's working for you and adjust, okay? So all important things to take into consideration. Now, what about the quads? Obviously, we just talked about posterior chain, a lot of hamstring, a lot of glute, but what about the quads? These things come into play a lot. I would suggest training your quads on a separate day from your glutes and your hamstrings, okay? So that's one thing I'd suggest straight out the gate, train them on a separate day so you can really focus the emphasis on them. Obviously, you're going to be doing compound movements that are going to work your whole leg, your whole lower body, as it should be, but movements that are more heavily focused on quads, okay? So one consideration you definitely want to have in your program is some form of squats. This could be back squats. If you do this correctly, it's going to target your quads and your hamstring pretty much in a sense where they're both working together, but quads are going to work a lot when you're doing a squat, okay? So if you can squat heavy, you're going to have great leg development, and that's going to help a lot. So doing tempos on your squat, making sure you have the right form on your squat. Don't worry about going too deep. Worry about getting the right quad activation. It's usually about parallel. A lot of people on Instagram and stuff want to talk about squat and ass to grass and whatnot. A lot of you just hurting your damn backs doing that. A lot of you are not built for it. Work on your quad tension. Work on going down, getting the level, coming up, and that's how you're going to hit the quad anyway, because even if you go ass to grass, it's not helping you actually develop the quads for what we need for the wellness division. So, working on things like that. Doing things like front squats. That's another great exercise you should really consider. A lot of people are not good at doing these types of lifts, so it's something you would want to work on. You might start on a Smith machine if you're not used to the compound movements, but front squats and things like that where you're going to have the free barbell up front. This is great for targeting the quads, especially if you put a heel lift on. So some of you might have even squat shoes, great to wear on this. You put your heel up, and basically this makes your knees track forward, which really is going to hit the quads a lot, okay? So you can also do this by putting plates under your feet and things like that, to where you're gonna have the feet be elevated because of the plate that's under it. It's gonna work the same way if you don't want to go dump a couple $100 on the squat shoes or whatever. It's gonna work pretty well too. You can also do it with the plank of wood. Some gyms have them, most don't. But the point is, getting the elevation to where you can hit the quads. And again, we're working on tempos. We're doing rep ranges here a little bit higher because the quads need some higher, hitting basically to really develop, due to the fact that they work all the time. Every single step you take, you're doing a lot of quads. You walk stairs up what. General people's legs take more demand when we're doing quads, okay? So you're going to do some things like front squats, stuff like that that's going to really hit them. Maybe some barbell step-ups, barbell lunges, things to consider, okay? All these are going to be compound movements. All these you would want to work in the rep ranges that are appropriate for your physique. Could be 8 to 10, could be 6 to 8, could be whatever. It's all individual. It's all got to be custom and different for you, right? We got to look at your physique and see where you're supposed to be, and then from there, build the program that's going to get you where you need to be, all right? And so those are some good considerations to take in, for the quad. That's going to target mainly the quad, all these movements, squats, front squats, hack squats even are great, leg press. You really got to think about all these different movements and where your physique is and what's going to shape you out the best. Step ups and lunges are always going to be good. If you wanted me to give you I know a lot of people are going to be like, dude, you're just throwing all these exercises at us, you're not giving us direction. Well, if you really wanted some quad specific stuff, I would say for sure get a squat in, so either a front or back squat, and then I would say throw in some lunges for sure. Don't miss either one of those things. And then other than that, it's going to be depending on your physique, okay? Make sure you get both of those in. That's going to be a great starting point. So we covered are some of the compounds that would be good for wellness, right? We're talking about all these different exercises that are compound movements. You definitely want to have all those in your program somewhere if you're serious about training and wellness. And again, if you want me to lay this out for you, go to TeamFFLEX.com, subscribe to the free trial. I'll show you exactly how to do this. It's free, or you'll get in the app, you'll get to see it, you get to see it laid out with the sets and reps I suggest. It's totally free. There's no reason not to do it, and there's no obligation. So if you're serious about training wellness, you don't take expert coaching advice for free, then you're pretty much just crazy and you're wasting your time, all right? So do that for sure. And then also, what we got to talk about next is the isolation exercises. Okay, so the isolation stuff comes into play after the compounds, as I suggested to you, again, as a general format. Okay, so you do these compounds, you train them really hard, you're getting 3-4 of these in before you move on to your isolations. And again, it's got to be custom for your physique, all different. But isolation exercises to consider for wellness training would be for the glute kickbacks, okay? Variances of glute kickbacks where you could be on a cable kickbacks, right? You could be doing more of a lateral kickback where you're sideways actually kicking out to the side, more of a hip abduction, basically kicking it out. Could be doing stuff with ankle weights. I have my wellness competitors now, most of them training with some ankle weights, doing good old school kickbacks, down on the all fours position, kicking the leg up, doing things like that, different leg raises, laying down. All that stuff's important. You gotta have isolation glute exercises, and this is how you do it. Single leg bridges off the floor, another great consideration. And with all isolation stuff, you're gonna be doing higher reps, okay? Because this is really the muscle hypertrophy stuff where, we're focusing on actually building the muscle. So we're talking about the 8 to 10, maybe the 12 rep range, things of that nature, as well as basically, targeting these exercises in the 3 to 4 set range where might do some pause reps, we're going to be doing some tempos, you might do some supersets, all these high intensity training protocols that really come down to getting the wellness type physique. So all that's really important, all that you definitely want to make sure you have in the program. So glute kickbacks, great consideration, doing 8 reps on the cables, 4 sets, things like that. Single leg bridge, other forms of kickback. That's really how you're going to isolate the glutes here the most, is by doing these different kickback movements at different angles, at different triangulations, at different, a lot of different stuff comes into play here. But if you do it correctly, it's going to really help you enhance and build that wellness type physique, okay? For the hamstrings, isolations, you can't miss this stuff. Single leg deadlifts, okay? So where you're doing a dumbbell and you're focusing on one leg and you're really isolating hamstring, probably not coming up all the way, but focusing on the lower end of the rep range where you're gonna, again, be hitting the one leg at a time, one hamstring at a time, really isolating this movement, focusing on it. Again, we're working in the 8 to 10 rep range, things of that nature. You could be doing supersets here. You could be definitely doing tempos here. Stuff to consider absolutely as you're training for wellness. Stiff leg deadlifts. Now this is a little bit more compound because we're doing a lot more stuff at the same time, but if you isolate the range of motion you're in, it's going to actually be hitting majority of that hamstring, which helps a lot. Stiff leg deadlifts are huge. You could even do it with your toes elevated. So you put your toes on the end of a plate or the end of a bench or something like that, and you're going to be basically having your toes elevated. That's going to help you hit the hamstrings even harder because basically you're elongating the posterior chain further, and that's going to help take out some of the low back and really help you hit the hamstrings. All stuff you want to consider. All right, so isolation work, how many exercises should you do? We're looking at 2 to 3 to maybe 4, depends on the physique. Isolation stuff to really bring up maybe certain areas or target different areas. It depends on where you're at, where you need to be. All right, so that's important to know. Again, you're using tempos and things like that. What type of lifts are we talking about for quads though? So what about the movements for the quads then? These isolations for the quads. Really, these are actually quite hard to do comparatively because they always are going to involve the other muscles working as well. But we can put a heavy emphasis on the quads depending on how your actual muscle intention and your mind is in the muscle when you train it. So one that I would say you got to have, Bulgarian split squats, okay? Bulgarian split squats, you can do this on a Smith machine with a dumbbell, with a barbell on your back, whatever. These are great. You put your foot up on a bench. A lot of people think this involves the glutes mainly. It's not true. That would be if you were hinging and things like that. You're probably not doing it correctly if you think this is a glute exercise. Basically, your torso should be pretty vertical and you're actually dropping down, bending that front leg, bringing the other knee to the floor, and this hits the quads a lot, okay? If you do this correctly, you can really get some good quad involvement going on here where you're just hitting it hard, really training it hard. If you go slow, if you get the right tension, you really focus your mind into that muscle, you can train the quads really very hard right here and get some good isolation movement because we're working one at a time. And if you put your mind in the muscle, you can really isolate it as you go. Quad leg extension, I guess it would be called. Leg extension's great. You got to have these in here. Single legs, double legs, leg extensions where basically you're going to focus on, you can point your toes out this way, bring them straight, point them in. Different areas, different things, going to bring different sweeps out in the quads, different parts of the quads are going to work. There's 4 different muscles in the quadricep itself, that's why it's called the quad, and thus you want to train them all if you want the best full leg development. If you really want to get that down, it's going to require you to do some different stuff there, so you might have to tilt your leg, point your toes out, do all these different things, and again, you're going to use 8 to 10 reps here. You're going to be doing tempos here. You might do some pause reps. You're going to be doing things where you're working the full range of motion all the time, and that's going to be really, really good for helping you build the quads. Sissy squats. Very old school exercise. Not a lot of people can do this the right way these days just because of mobility stuff, but it's a great consideration when it comes to wellness training. A sissy squat is basically where you are standing on your tippy toes and you purposely drive your knees forward. A lot of people worry about the fact that it could be bad for your knees and things like that. Honestly, it depends on the person. I've seen people be able to do this very well. I have a lot of clients that do this. I do these personally myself, and I've never had any problems with that thus far. I've never had any clients that had any problems with it thus far. If you have the right mobility and you have the right, muscularity, it's not going to tax you, and if you do it correctly, it's for sure going to be okay. So a sissy squat is a great consideration for targeting the quads. It's very, very quad focused. It's really hard to do. You'd honestly want to do it almost assisted, where you have your hands holding on to something like a bar in a Smith machine or a pole or something like that, and you're not obviously going all the way down. You're basically driving your knees forward, standing back up. You're really focusing on that quad, okay? So there's some more isolation exercises, probably some stuff you didn't even think about with the sissy squats and things like that you would probably want to have involved in your program. Now, you'll notice I didn't mention a lot of leg curls and things like that for hamstrings and whatnot. I tend to say avoid machine work for the most part for, when you're really trying to build muscle, develop and shape muscle. Machine work is great and it does serve its purpose. I do have people do it, so if you do it, don't come at me and say, but Coach Rye, you have me do that. Well, the truth is, every physique is different, every person is different, but you always want to focus on the compounds. You always want to have the certain isolation exercises that are going to be fitting for the physique and in the right pattern, and in general, free weights are going to be better than doing cables and doing machines all the time. But is there a place for everything? Absolutely. In a well-designed, properly built program, you can get a lot of great things to come out of it, a lot of good physiques, a lot of good results if you have the right balance of everything. So a good program is going to utilize all this. A good program will use compounds, isolations, machines, cables, resistance bands, accessory stuff like these. You're going to have basically all the stops being pulled out, because in the end, that's how you're going to get the best physique, that's how you're going to get the fastest results, and that's how you're going to stand on the wellness stage with a well-developed set of lower body, legs, glutes, hamstrings, quads, all of that, and actually do well in this division. So I know this was a longer video today. I know I said a lot of stuff. I hope that you got some out of it. You took notes. You can always watch it again, listen again, or if you really just want to get the shortcut to all this, go to TeamFFLEX.com right now. Subscribe to the free trial. I'll set you up personally on wellness workouts. I'll show you exactly how to train for wellness. It's a free trial. There's no obligation. If you're serious about training for wellness, there's no reason you wouldn't want to do this from literally one of the top industry coaches who's going to be leading the pack with some wellness physiques coming in 2020. I'll tell you how to do it. I'll tell you what I suggest, and I'll show you what I mean with some of these exercises. It can be very, very helpful to you, honestly, and it's free. I'm not trying to, get you into anything or hold you, lock you into something. You're just basically testing it out. It's a value add. It's a give back to the community because I want to see people come out. I want this division to be great. I know it's going to be great. I want to see a lot of physiques come into play here in 2020. People that weren't able to compete finally can come step on stage. That's what I want for all you ladies out there. If you want to do wellness and you're interested in it, go to my website right now, TeamFFLEX.com. Subscribe to the free trial, and I'll show you exactly how to do it. You got nothing to lose, but a lot to gain if you do that. So hopefully you got something out of this video either way, whether you do the trial or not, and I hope that I gave you some good mind, some brain food. Keep in mind, everything has to be custom. I've said it over and over because it is so important. Don't ever do programs that are not custom when it comes to training for bodybuilding, competing in general, or any other fitness goal. If you do general, generic programs, you're going to get general, generic, shitty results, and that's not what you want. That's not what you want in your own results ever, whether you're a competitor or not. You want the best results. You want them the fastest way, and you get that through customization. So today I give you some starting points. I give you some ideas. This is not a blanket. This is not something you can take literally all these exercises and go try them, and then that's your program. It won't work. You won't get the best results that way. You will get the best results if you implement the exercises and the protocols and things like that I talked about in relation to your actual physique and where you need to be. So any of you ladies out there competing in wellness, super excited to see you on stage next year. We'll be out there competing. We'll be out there having a good time. I appreciate all you watching the video. If you made it this far, thank you so much. Please make sure you share. Please make sure you subscribe. I'll be back every single Tuesday with the Iron Palace, teaching you how to build a palace out of your gains. And tomorrow I'm here for first callouts. So make sure you come back, subscribe to the channel so you get a notification when the next video is posted. Thank you for watching. Coach Rye is out.